right. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you director, writer, singer, actress, and artist, Leslie M. Scott Jones. Leslie is Assistant Curator of Education and Public Programs at Jefferson School African American Heritage Center and Artistic Director for the Charlottesville Players Guild. Her latest play, 37, is scheduled to premiere March 25th through 28th as a part of the Charlottesville Players Guild 2021 AMPLIFY season. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to Leslie, and then we can introduce, the cast can introduce themselves.
Hi, yes, so 37 is a play that I've been writing on and off for about 3 years, and it is about a young Black man who is trying to decide whether or not to enter the movement for Black lives. And through the life of the play, he has several conversations with people who are close to him, and goes through a lot, trying to make this decision. And yeah, it's an interesting ride. I'm going to say that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Leslie. So I guess we can go around and everyone can introduce themselves and like mention who you play in 37. And whoever wants to jump in there, I'm going to work from left to right. Jamahl.
Good evening. My name is Jamahl Garrison-Lowe. I am portraying Seth.
Megan.
Hi, I'm Megan Randall, and I am playing Caroline.
Okay. Andy Davis.
I'm Andy Davis, and I am playing Paul.
JJ Johnson.
Hi, I'm JJ Johnson, and I'm playing narrator and Arthur.
Bibi.
Hey, my name is Bibi Mama, and I'm playing Lillian.
And Andy.
Or Osiris, as we call him.
Andy, me too.
All right. So let's jump into some questions. So I've got some questions here, a couple specifically about 37. I mean, I've only been privy to about 15 minutes of it, so we're going to branch out beyond that too. So again, these are directed to anybody, so just jump right in there. So let's get started. I guess this one is specifically more towards Leslie. Leslie, why 37 a play, not a novel or a short story? And what advantages or benefits does a live stage performance offer over the strictly written word or book format?
Well, I don't really know why a play or not something else. It's just kind of how it happened. I started writing it about a little over 3 years ago. And I started writing it as a way to answer a question for myself. And then I literally took a break for a year. I got to a certain point in the script and life in Charlottesville got really hectic around 2017. And I was not able to pick it back up until the shutdown last year, and literally picked it back up and finished it in a day. And I think the advantage to it being a play is of course these brilliant actors that I have around me. The lived experience of Black people is something that people get a very skewed view of. And I think that needs to change. And two, if I believe that needs to change, then I need to be one of the people changing it. So that means I need to, that that puts a responsibility on me about what I write, and also as the artistic director of CPG, what I produce.
Thank you, Leslie. So everyone, please chime in on this one. What do you hope the audience will take away with them after having watched 37? If there's one thing they learn or that they take away, what would that be? Jamahl?
I can start. Sure. I could say one thing would be the cost of activism. And that is in a multi-tier based on where you're coming from and what your expectation, what you hope to get out of it, what your goals are for doing it. I think you can see through each character that they're all varied, even if they're towards the same goal. They're varied in from different sources, from different roots, towards 4 different ends.
Thank you, Jamahl. Anyone else?
I'll go. I think it's easy for non-minority people and specifically non-Black people to distance themselves from the event, police brutality. And I believe that the currency of theater is empathy. So I hope that over the course of people experiencing the characters in this play, they're able to get to know them and grow fond of them and identify with them in a way that they might not be able to from a news story, or a headline. I hope it makes it personal for them.
Thank you. Megan?
I'm hoping that it sparks conversations with different people, especially people who may believe in some things that come up in this play, that they might have conversations and really think about how they've always believed and just to open their minds a little bit more.
Thank you. Andy Davis.
To kind of tag on to what Megan said, it's not just the conversations that you have with the people around you, it's the conversations that you have with yourself about where you are in your own journey of activism, because we have all of these characters are in different places in that journey, whether it's a non-starter or somebody who is on the front lines as a leader. And everybody's got their own little steps, and having a conversation, it's like realizing, okay, where am I? What are the downfalls of what I'm doing? And Jamahl also talked about the consequences of activism, and not saying and whether or not they become worth it to you and when, and realizing that step in your that part of your own growth.
Anyone else?
I just think people should hopefully realize that comfort and kindness aren't enough, and that there needs to be more. And I think for a long time people were able to kind of disconnect and think that well, I'm not participating in anything actively quote unquote racist, but it's also the non-action that perpetuates it. And so I think this play sort of pushes those people to the forefront and say, hey, it takes more than just being, it takes more than just being kind. And there needs to be real action. So I hope it's a call to action for some people.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, wonderful, thank you. Another question, kind of touching on that. Pardon me, I've got these all written down. I've heard it's, and correct me if I'm mistaken, this is Leslie, this is a question for you. I heard it's very difficult for an author to entirely abstain from infusing characters with at least some degree of themselves or the autobiographical, that all characters are essentially in some way autobiographical. Would you argue that this is true? And can you see elements of yourself in each of the characters you create, even ones as seemingly diverse as Lillian and Paul?
Oh, okay. Well, I am going to say, one, I'm not the only writer here. Looking at you, Megan and JJ.
Well, jump in.
And I think anyone who is a writer or is friends with a writer runs the risk of their personality or parts of their personality showing up in something they write. Like it's gonna happen. As far as how much I leaked in, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I can say that every single one of the Black characters in this play is named after an ancestor of mine in some way, shape, or form. So they leaked in that way, for sure.
Thank you. And Megan or JJ, did you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I feel that definitely you have pieces of yourself that go into the characters, for example, and also any of your friends. I have a sign that says warning. If you're a friend of mine, you're going to be in my book. And Leslie knows that because she's in one of my books. So, and I told her straight up, I'm like, you're in one of my books. Go ahead and read it. Tell me what you think. So yeah, it happens. Don't you think, JJ?
Absolutely. There's no shame in the fact that like I throw myself completely into the writings. I mean, my life. My first play was based on my childhood. So I think for now at least, as I'm still kind of new and gaining my legs, I'm definitely pulling from real life. Maybe one day I won't have to do that. And I can depend solely on imagination. But right now, no.
I don't think you're ever going to depend solely on imagination. Like, I just don't think, I think no matter what, I mean, when you think about some of the greatest Black playwrights, I mean, August Wilson absolutely said he patterned every single woman he ever wrote after his mother or his grandmother. Well, there you go. I mean, that's a recipe that I'm willing to follow for success.
That's a perfect.
I just said that because I've heard writers, established writers, some who, arrogantly state like, no, I don't pull from my life. Why do people ask me that? So I'm like, oh, maybe they have something that I feel like most writers I know pull from their lives.
They're lying.
You're lying.
I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. So.
All right. Well, Leslie, that's a perfect segue into my next question. And again, the whole cast, please feel free to jump in. Can you describe the importance August Wilson has had on you personally, Leslie, and on Black theater in general?
Immeasurable on both counts. What he did as a playwright had never and has never been done. Right? He started it by literally just sitting down and writing a play and then realizing, oh, this would be really cool if I did a play about every decade in this century and told the story of Black existence in this little spot through an entire century. No other playwright before him had thought of that, and no other playwright since him has done it. So yeah, there is an enormous weight that goes along with him as a writer. For me, I think anyone who has acted in a Wilson play is forever changed. He said himself that he does not write for actors, and he did not lie. the acrobatics, the emotional acrobatics that are required for a Wilson performance are some of the most tiring, exhilarating, frustrating. I mean, you know, actually, Jamahl and I were just talking about it today. I did Fences. Fences was the first Wilson that we at CPG produced. And, you know, we ran for 2 weeks, 4 nights a week. So we did 8 shows within 2 weeks. And the next Monday after we closed, I called off from work and I cried for half the day, because that's the amount of emotion that it took every single night. And to keep that up for that long, at the end of it, I just need to cry it out. I just need to cry it out and then clean myself up. Like, you know, it was that day where I was like, yep, not putting on pants today. Nope, crying. Let me just go get all the tissues, bring them in here and get this done. And I think, I mean, that's one of the reasons people who have acted Wilson are called Wilsonian soldiers. They're called soldiers because of the work that it takes to produce his work correctly. I'm going to say that. I mean, you can phone it in if you want to, but I don't see how you. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Leslie. Did anyone else want to add in?
I'll do a mini add-on correction. Eugene O'Neill said he was going to do one for each decade and didn't even come close. So there's that. I'd also say there is this amazing, let's not say amazing. He was a gatekeeper for sure. And so you see wonderful contemporary playwrights who, if I could absolutely not speak for them, but who I would guess would say they owe a lot of, they're indebted to the bridges he created through his work, because he's very, very specific. Wilson plays very specific, but he's just one slice of a huger pie that never ever got a voice. You know, what was the other African-American play that's done repeatedly? It was Raisin in the Sun, and then that was like, what's number 2, right? Everybody know Raisin in the Sun, but what else? They were out there. You know, Baldwin did Amen Corner.
Yes. Yes.
But who else? And now we have Jackie Sybil's Druru. We've got Jeremy Harris. Susan Laurie Park's been around, right? So I just feel like that is almost, or at least equal to his legacy, is the space that he made for other artists in this specific industry of theater where there wasn't.
Yes. I'll agree with that.
Thank you.
I agree too. If I could just hop in real quick.
Please do.
Leslie, I'm sure you noticed this, but structurally, your play is reminiscent of August Wilson as well. The play taking place in one room, centering around the characters' relationships, and it's about the events on the outside world that are then, you know, retold by the actors through their perspectives. That creates the momentum. So, at that. Yeah, that's beautifully done. And it reminds me of, you know, August Wilson's one room sort of setting.
Yeah. And, you know, like, so I took a friend of mine back to Oberlin a couple of years ago. And on the way home, I was like, you know what? So it was 3 of us going up, 2 of us coming back. And I was like, you know what? Why not? Like, it's only a 30-minute out of our way. Let's go to Pittsburgh. And we did, and found Wilson's house. And he and I had just done 7 Guitars at UVA. And we walk we get to the front of it and, read the plaque and everything. And we walk around to the backyard. Absolutely the set of 7 guitars. To the brick, the set of 7 guitars. Literally, I walked out and I saw the brick outline of the garden. But so to those writers who say that they don't write their own life, whatever. Whatever.
Thank you. Wonderful. So next question, I'm going to hop around a little bit here. JMRL was recently honored a couple evenings ago to help host the author Jacqueline Woodson for a virtual discussion. We had more than 700 people and it was absolutely fantastic. She mentioned during the interview, and I'm paraphrasing here, this isn't a direct quote, that the prospect for Black writers has never been more exciting. For the first time, their stories are in demand, and a whole history, a present and a future of Black perspectives and stories is at long last about to be discovered. And the surface has only been scratched up until now. Could you comment on that and the responsibilities that this poses for Black writers?
I wholeheartedly agree that Black writers are definitely more in demand. I am hoping that it's not a hashtag that goes away in a month. I am also hoping that these writers are taken seriously, and that they get as much opportunity to share their vision and their truths with the world as their white counterparts. And I think it absolutely means that organizations that are gatekeepers and can say what gets produced absolutely have a larger responsibility to reach out to those writers and to hear those voices, to make sure they're heard, and to take the next generation of playwrights by the hand and say, oh, okay, come on, let's workshop your show. Let's put it on its feet. That's what it took. I mean, for me to get to where I am as a playwright, it took another artistic director, seeing my stuff and say, you know what, this is really good. I want to help you workshop it. Let's get it ready to be on its feet. Oh, and by the way, here's the festival that you're going to submit it to. It took someone that believed in me, in what I was doing, pushing me to say, no, this is good, and no, it is worth it, and no, people need to hear it. And that one push was all it took. And then I was like, oh, okay, I can do this.
Thank you, Leslie. Did anyone else want to weigh in on that? Jamahl?
Yeah, I love the essence of the question and the hope and so I think we should still be careful and not get into that 2008 zone of everything's solved, we're good now. No, American Theater did the stats last year, and it still showed that Asians are still underrepresented, African Americans are still underrepresented, and then if you look at other minorities, we'll just put it under that umbrella, still largely underrepresented per population. Yes, we have more gatekeepers who are just now, 2019, 2020, 2021, now having the gate a little wider, but there's still a lot of work to go. I think the most produced author last year was before, so that would have been scheduled for the 2020 season, was Lauren Gunderson, who's a great playwright, but far and ahead above any other person. And so we're just talking about equity, really. That's all. Everyone loves storytelling. It's not like it's only isolated for one group. And there are wonderful storytellers in all of the cultures that make up this fabric of this country. And that is not represented in American theater, whether regionally or on Broadway. There is not equity within that representation. And I think that should be the goalpost. So yes, we're doing better, but let's not like pat ourselves on the back and like sit down and chill and pop a beer. We ain't even close to there yet.
Right.
Thank you, Jamahl. Anybody else? Oh, Megan?
I also think, and this is more because I don't write I don't write plays, I write books. And I also think there's a responsibility to make sure, because even in novels, especially in what I write, there's this big, huge movement for let's get a whole bunch of authors of color and let's do that. Well, great, let's do that. But it needs to be continued. That's my fear, is that it's hot right now. But it can't be about it being hot. There are so many people that want to read good stories. And it's just, so I'm always kind of cautious when they're like, oh, let's all have a whole bunch of color authors at this, great. But what are you going to do next year? I mean, we got to keep doing this. This isn't just a 1 year or a 1 month or whatever kind of deal. So that's, maybe a little bit of a negative Nelly, but it's, these things come and go, and this is too important for it to have that effect, in my opinion.
Thank you, Megan. Anyone else? All right. I don't want to hold everybody here. I got a couple more questions. Is that all right? Is everyone? All right. Just let me know when you've had enough of me. All right. So going backwards here, let's see. I presume that everyone here is a believer in the power of art to affect social change. And if you don't, I would love to hear your personal opinions, but assuming everybody is, can you explain what specifically art does, whether it's theater or just art in a broader sense, and how exactly you believe it empowers people to rise up and take action? Or more simply, how does good art move people?
Like I said earlier, I believe that the currency of art and really storytelling in general is empathy. And when people are able to identify with or humanize people they may have not had the chance to encounter in their everyday lives, or may not have identified with otherwise, I think it does something to the humanity in all of us. I think it does a really great job of dissolving the barriers that we put up between one another, and helps us realize that we're not all that different after all. Yeah, and then I think it gives people the clarity and then the courage to stand up to defend their fellow humans.
Thank you.
So I'm going to answer that with a story. And my cast members are like, God, another story. So I went to the theater to see, Megan, help me. NASA movie, Black Women.
What was
Hidden Figures?
Hidden Figures? Okay.
It's Tech Week. I have no brain. So I go to the movie theater to see the film, which I loved. And afterwards, I'd gotten one of those drinks that was like this big. So I had to pee. And before I leave. And we all know the line in the women's bathroom is notoriously 4 times longer than in the men's bathroom. So I'm standing in line behind this white woman who had also just seen Hidden Figures. And she is still crying when she got to the bathroom. And she turns around and she sees me and she goes, "Oh my God, I am so upset about what happened. Can you just go in front of me? Just go in front of me. I'm so upset about what my mothers did to your mothers. Just go in front of me." And of course, while she was doing that, the next stall opened up and I was like, no, you're good. It's okay. And she was like, no, really, please. And I said, you know what? We are not in the Jim Crow South. I don't need you to put me in the front of the line for the bathroom. And in that moment, I think she was kind of like, why aren't you accepting my, she got a little upset because she was like, what? But I'm trying to be the nice white person. It's like, yeah, but that's not what I need. But if she had never seen that movie, we never could have gotten to that moment.
Thank you, Leslie. Anybody else? No. Okay. JJ?
I was just going to say, just on a very mainstream level, I just remember the effects of that movies had on me as a kid. And when I would go to see a martial arts film, how it would come out and, pretend like I knew martial arts. Or when I went to see hip hop films, I came out, trying to break dance, because like you come out with this energy of the thing that you saw, or the thing that you experienced. So I think that's the power of what art does. And so, it may sustain only for a little bit, but because of that experience, I went back to the movies more and more until it got to the point where I was able to articulate, I want to do that in life. So I think, it's just about, experiencing the art, letting it set with you. And, you may be inspired to do something that may be meaningless, like the lady who Leslie encountered in the restroom. But by Leslie challenging her, she might get her feelings hurt, but then, maybe she took the opportunity to go learn and do something deeper. Maybe she's doing something deeper now. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt, so it's I think art at least is the place where people can be inspired and can be a catalyst for real change.
Andy?
Yeah, I don't think anybody on the planet walks into a theater. I mean, well, there are some people, we'll be honest, but walks into a theater just going like, I'm going to shut myself down and I'm not going to have an emotional experience. I've walked into movies that I had no interest in seeing. I just, I was bored and wanted to go see something and like walked out of it just go, what the heck did I just watch? But I think there's something to be said about just like sitting in an experience and letting it kind of just wash over you and kind of just wear down all of those defenses and the facade that we put up every single day of being what we're intending, what we intend to present for everybody. This is who I am. This is my, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram wall of my carefully curated personality. And sitting in a theater and watching a live show or going to a concert or going to an art gallery to go see an actual exhibit and just absolutely just letting it kind of seep into your core and, for lack of a better term, incept something in you, whether it's the idea that you want to do what JJ did, watch enough movies that you decide that this is the career path for me, or that you decide like what happened on screen affected me and I want to affect social change because of that, or just, I want to chase this feeling, this, be it positive or negative or whatever it is, for whatever reason. It art inspires because that is the very definition of what is inspiration.
Wonderful. Thank you. Anybody else?
I'll totally piggyback a little bit on JJ's comment because it sparked the memory of I feel like the most powerful artistic experiences for me personally have always actually changed me in some way. Almost like, and I guess it's kind of what Andy's was getting at as well. It's like you go in one way, you come out and you're different. And it may just be a little thing. Just look at a building in a different way, or you sit next to someone in public and you see them in a different way, or you think about them in a way that's more expanded, that's expanded because of the artistic experience that you had. I think at its strongest, creating that change inside an individual is where it lies in its most power. And definitely for me, my top tier artistic memorable experiences were things where I walked in one day and I walked out, and it would just, like, especially in theater, like you walk out of the theater, you've been in this dark space, this big light, and you're there for like 2 hours and some change. And like when you exit, you see things that you had saw 2 hours before, and it all looks different. You're like, what the F did I just go through? Because nothing is the same anymore.
That exit is like a rebirth.
Yeah, that thing is awesome, and it's very rare. I've had it happen a couple of times with a couple of artists who've had that kind of effect for me. And they're rare, but they're powerful. And that for me, they were very powerful experiences.
Very well put. Yeah, I agree. There's only a handful of occasions I can think of, and they do happen kind of rare, and that's what makes them so exciting. When you pick up a book, you watch a film or something, and 9 out of 10 times it doesn't do much for you, or maybe 1 out of 100 times, you come across something that really changes your life. I think that's very eloquently put. Thank you so much. All right, so we're past 8 o'clock. I was wondering if we could do one more quick question for everybody. This is for everyone. What projects are you currently working on, whether independently or as part of the Players Guild? I understand some of you are writers. I want to jump in there.
Okay.
Megan?
I write romantic suspense, and so I'm currently writing a book that's going to be a series. So yeah, it's fun, and you're in control of every aspect of it, which is awesome.
Very nice. Thank you. Phoebe.
I'm currently dialect coaching a production of Dominique Marceau's Detroit 67, which is also part of a series. She, instead of like August Wilson focusing on Pittsburgh, she focuses in Detroit, which is really cool. It's a new endeavor for me, so I'm excited to be honing this skill. And my father is an immigrant from Benin, West Africa, and he has a series of Beninese folk tales that he's published. So I'm in the process of adapting them so that I can record them as sort of like a podcast series to help spread the culture, my parents' culture. So yeah, I'm excited about that.
Wonderful, wonderful. Keep in touch with the library. That sounds like a fantastic program. If you're looking for a platform, keep us in mind.
I definitely will.
Please
Thank
do.
you.
All right. Anyone else working on anything they want to share? JJ?
I received my first commission for solo works with First Stage and Tyson's Corner. So I've been developing a solo show based on my father's life before I was born, called The Drummer's Son. And he was a drummer in his teenage years, and got a chance to drum for some of the classic R&B groups when they would come through Fauquier County. He was born and raised in Fauquier County, Virginia. And so doing that, and I just I wrote over the last year. I wrote a short film collaborating with an actor out of New York, and then a couple other people came on the team, and they actually shot the film in Connecticut in February. So now I'm just waiting for post-production to be done with that. Film's called 1,000 Cuts, and the director was a feature film fellow with Sundance. So it's been in good hands, and it looks really good, and I'm excited about it. And yeah, I've been teaching acting for the first time since November, so that's a new venture for me. So I've been staying pretty busy.
Nice. Congratulations. Sounds great. Anyone else?
Well, I'm always busy. I mean, there's CPG And then 37 has also been accepted into a longer development process with Theater Alliance in DC. So there will be a different version of 37 appearing there next year in their next season. And JJ and I last year did a podcast, and we will be doing season 2 of the podcast soon, and hopefully we can keep on schedule and have the first episode of the 10 series podcast out in June.
Wonderful. It's exciting. Andy, is that a hand? Oh,
Yeah, I am just this week started. So I run Bent Theater Improv Comedy in Charlottesville, and I just this week started the process of getting our group back together as we're getting into the spring and summer months, where we can safely perform and rehearse outdoors after having been off for now over a year. So we're just getting that back off the ground. So after a year of not doing it, hopefully be doing some improv comedy in Charlottesville again very, very soon. So
very exciting. Wonderful. Anybody else? I think that's about it then. I don't want to hold anyone up anymore. This was wonderful. Thank you so much. Definitely check out 37. It starts March 25th through 28th. You get tickets at
Eventbrite.
Eventbrite. Okay, Eventbrite. Awesome. So definitely check that out. Thank you all so much. This was wonderful. Thank you for being here tonight, and hopefully we can do this again. Have maybe a bigger audience. Yeah. Anybody, any closing thoughts, or we all good? All right. Thank you all so much. This is wonderful. Have a great night.
Night.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Right.